A science story, huh?
These NYU scientists,
I
felt
right.
But I was so
And I just thought, well,
I had figured it out.
it was that golden moment.
Because science was on my side.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Story Clutter, where true personal stories about science help us make sense of just how strange, complicated, and deeply human this world can be. I'm your host, Misha Gajewski, and today's episode was produced in partnership with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative's Rare as One project, which brings together rare disease patient advocates from around the world who are all working towards the same goal, finding answers and ultimately cures. Rare as One supports these advocates by offering tools, grant programs, and training to help strengthen their work and their communities. Today's stories come from two Rare as One grantees, and they speak to something we don't talk about enough: the importance of research and clinical trials and what it means to show up for one another in the rare disease community, even when the path forward is uncertain. I'm really grateful to be able to share these stories with you today. Let's dive in. Our first story comes from Carlos Guerrero-Anderson, an executive leader and patient advocate who has dedicated his life to amplifying the voices of rare disease communities. His story is recorded in his home in Tampa, Florida. Here's Carlos.
So, I grew up in a joyful home that fueled my determination to succeed. I had a group of friends that they were from more privileged families and background, money-wise, but it sparked ambition, not envy. I wanted to prove I could belong at any table, not through luck, but through hard work and persistence. Um, I was this kind of person who ran for class president many times because I loved making ideas real. And I represented my country international in different competitions like Harvard National Model United Nations. And by graduation, multinational companies were already recruiting me. I climbed quickly: regional roles, promotions, no vacations for 6 years. I went to the gym at 5 a.m. because it was the only time still mine. One morning in a quiet gym, listening to the treadmill sound, and I started feeling a strange pressure under my left ribs. Not sharp, but wrong. I wasn't that concerned because I used to be very, very healthy. But then, over months, I became tired, lost weight, noticed a growing hard balloon on my left side, and had night sweats. But I kept pushing. That's why high achievers do. Eventually, I couldn't deny it. So, doctors, tests, waiting rooms. It's at the same time I was planning a trip to Madrid with my friends, my first real vacation in many years. After getting a phone call from my doctor to go the next day to meet with her in person, which was interesting, she asked me to go with my parents. I go there. I went with my parents and two friends. They waiting for me outside at the hospital corridor. I'm there in this cold 80s style um, room with my parents and the doctor, and she uh, goes that the results came back, and she's very scared and worried about the results. And I have an urgent hematologist appointment the following day. The following day at 6 a.m., I'm there in the specialist office. She finger pricked, go to the microscope, then order a bone marrow biopsy to be performed right in that moment. And I wait for the results. When the results were ready, I was with the doctor, and then the doctor looked at me and said, "You need to start treatment now." My answer to that was, "I have a trip to Spain, and I'll deal with this when I'm back." And she said, "If you don't start treatment now, you may not be alive in 2 weeks. Go to ER immediately. Carlos, you are dying." I was 25 years old. She diagnosed me with a rare blood cancer. Fear didn't arrive with a scream, it arrived as a calculation. I was really worried about my career, my future, my reputation, and fear whispered, if they find out you lost opportunities, they'll see you as frail. So I decided to keep a silence, and I worked through treatment in secret. I was getting emails and participating in phone calls meetings with IV, saying that I had a flu, and then that the flu turned into pneumonia. When I recovered enough, I returned work pretending nothing happened, and I relapsed several times and hid each hit it each time. I used vacation days for treatment sessions. I took calls from infusion chairs. But silence has a cost. It cost me a career in Switzerland, a major promotion, even chances for a family, a partner. The silence took more than the disease. Eventually, I quit and decided to build my own business, not out of ambition, but survival, to manage my disease privately. And eventually, I decided to move to New York City to learn English, to improve my English, and also to manage my company from New York. I was looking not just to survive, but to grow. Eventually, I relapsed. At that time, I ran out of treatment options in Latin America. So, being in New York City, I met with doctors and I started an experimental target therapy that only a few people had tried it. It was a therapy which consists in 8 huge pink pills, and these dose they started with the highest dose because they weren't sure about the exact dose to treat this condition. The side effects were brutal. My skin felt on fire. One night, the pain overwhelmed me. I collapsed on the cold floor. I'm screaming, I'm shaking, I'm crying. It is in that moment the most painful moment of my life. I'm questioning everything. Why me? Do the doctors know what they are doing? What's next? I'm gonna survive. But then something shifted, and I realized my body carried data and my pain carried knowledge. Someone in the future would suffer less because of what I endured. And it's when I felt that it wasn't about me. It was about us, all of us. That thought softened the floor beneath me, and the pain eased. I felt held on warm arms, and I fell asleep in peace, not defeat. Years later, the dose was reduced. Same results, fewer side effects. Nowadays, when patients say today that the treatment has no major side effects, I smile quietly because I know the hidden story behind that progress. I was part of it. And I realized that silence is the most dangerous side effect of any disease. It isolates, it shames, it steals hope. Illness stripped my identity until I finally met the real me. That moment became an invitation to live aligned with meaning. I shift to rare disease advocacy, and today I bring my full story everywhere, not as a secret, but as a banner. Visibility won't cure a disease, but it cures loneliness. And when we stand together, we become a movement. Being a survivor is not the end of the sentence, it's the beginning. My mission now is to turn pain into purpose, to unite patients and doctors, connect science and humanity, and spark conversations that save lives. I was not broken, I was being called. This is no longer just about surviving. It is about making sure no one ever has to fight alone.
That was Carlos, and his story is just one example of the importance of taking part in clinical trials. It's kind of magical to know that because of people like Carlos, future generations don't have to suffer as much. If you'd like to learn more about Carlos or the work of the Hairy Cell Leukemia Foundation, you can head to our website at storyclatter.org. I also just want to say I'm incredibly proud of Carlos for telling his story. Sharing something this personal and vulnerable takes real courage, and while being a storyteller is one powerful way to make the story clatter happen, it's far from the only one. Not everyone wants to be in the spotlight, and that's okay. Support behind the scenes helps ensure we can keep sharing stories like this, and keep building spaces for voices like Carlos's. Now, more than ever, we need to amplify the voices of scientists and science communicators, whose stories might otherwise go unheard. At Storyclatter, we believe that true personal stories can cut through the noise, bring science to life, building trust, and helping people connect on a deeply human level. Our donors make that possible. They help us produce this podcast, share powerful stories, and keep the conversation going. If you believe in the power of science storytelling, please consider making a donation at storyclatter.org/donate. Most people give around $10 a month, and every tax-deductible contribution, big or small, helps us ensure that science has a voice. Thank you for helping keep these stories alive. Our next story is from the Director of Philanthropy and Development for the Families SC and 2A Foundation, Angie Weaver. Her story is recorded at her home in northern Minnesota. Here's Angie.
The sleet slaps across my face as I stumble out of the ambulance into the pitch black night. I haven't slept. I haven't eaten. The adrenaline pumping through my body makes me sick to my stomach. Red lights flash. I can barely see. Amelia, my tiny daughter, 9 years old, is being loaded onto a small plane. She's wrapped in a thick hospital transport cover, rigid, heavy, velcroed shut like cargo. But inside, I made sure her purple fuzzy blanket is tucked in close. The one she sleeps with every night. The one that smells like home. As I follow behind her stretcher, she's having one seizure after another. Full body convulsions. The kind people picture when they hear the word seizure. Arms jerking, legs thrashing, her whole body taken over like something out of a nightmare. My hair is soaked, my mascara smears. I can't stop shaking. My boots crunch on the icy ground. The air smells like fuel and cold metal. I taste the metallic panic in my mouth, but I keep walking. I repeat to myself, she's so strong. She's a fighter. We'll get through this too. The 42-minute flight from our small town in northern Minnesota to Mayo Clinic is a blur of failed IV pokes. They try again and again. She seizes. They poke. She seizes again. I sit hunched in the corner of the plane, water pooling at my feet, trying to remember how to breathe. I'm 34. It's 21 days till Christmas. I should be home wrapping presents, baking cookies, not watching my daughter fight for her life, not being this helpless. In the pediatric intensive care unit, I do what I always do. I rattle off her meds, her allergies, her rare disease diagnosis, SCN2A. SCN2A is a gene we all carry, but when it mutates, like it has with Amelia, it can cause catastrophic disorders, severe epilepsy, movement disorders, developmental delays, autism. There's no cure, no treatments. For Amelia, it means hundreds of seizures a day, regression, losing her ability to speak and at times walk, wheelchair and medical equipment, over 20 failed medications, more specialists than I ever knew existed. I explain what's helped, what hasn't, and I make it clear the wrong meds can quickly escalate into life-threatening seizures. So I watch the doctors closely. Who listens? Who dismisses me? Some look at me with pity, like they've already decided I'm just a young mom in leggings and wet boots. That they know more despite never having heard of SCN2A until I said the word. And honestly, it makes me angry because I live every hour of this. I hold her through every seizure. I track every dose. I read research. I connect with parents to learn what works for their kids. I educate, I advocate. And I did trust the doctors back when Amelia had her first seizure. They sent me home with medications that nearly killed her. So I learned to stand in a room full of PhDs and tell them things they might not want to hear from a mom. But I don't care what they think of me. I only care that my daughter lives. This is life and death. My Minnesota nice goes out the window. I don't have the luxury of falling apart. If I unravel, I might miss something. And I won't let her die because I took a nap and an intern gave her the wrong medication. It's 3 a.m. before they get a central line in, then a breathing tube. Amelia is finally sedated. Still. No longer seizing. I haven't gone to the bathroom in hours. I haven't sat down. I haven't cried. I sing to her as they intubate, read to her as they place EEG leads, hold her down while they draw blood. I do all the things no mother should ever have to do. And I don't think about the next hour or the one after that. I've been doing this for 9 years now. We get her home and start the long work of getting her back to baseline. Meds, therapies, follow-up visits. She's home, but she's still not herself. Her body's tired. So is mine. Time stretches and folds in on itself. Some days feel like 2 hours, others like 2 months. We miss a season, maybe 2. The days blur. But somewhere in that tangle of follow-ups, another name quietly appears on her care team. Palliative care. And they start asking different kinds of questions. Not just about symptoms, but about comfort, quality of life. What Amelia would want if she could tell us. At first, I don't know what to feel. No one has ever said the word death out loud. No one has looked me in the eye and told me she might not survive. So when they bring it up, Feels like I've slipped into a conversation I didn't know I was in. I wanted to tell them we're still fighting. She's still here, still trying. Do they know how hard she fights? The thought of losing her is my worst nightmare. It makes my chest tighten like I can't breathe. Even saying it in my own head feels impossible. But they're not asking us to stop fighting. They're giving us space to talk about things we've never dared say, to think about comfort, not just survival, to imagine a version of care that honors how hard this is, that sees Amelia not just as a patient, but as a child with a life worth living, however long it lasts. And it terrifies me because it makes it real. It makes me wonder if they see something I can't face yet. One quiet morning, I'm standing in the kitchen. The fridge hums. The coffee in my hands is already cooling. I hear Amelia and her nurse downstairs doing physical therapy in the lower level we remodeled just for her for all her medical equipment. It's peaceful, but not normal. We're still trying to get her back to baseline. She's tired. Her body feels heavier. Our calendar is filled with follow-up appointments and med changes. Everything still feels fragile. I stand there, not moving, just listening. And I think about something I learned from the family's SCN2A Foundation, brain donation. At the time, I tuck it away thinking, God, I hope I never need to know this. But after our last hospitalization, I can't shake it. Watching your child suffer like that, it breaks something in you. There's a helplessness so deep it settles into your bones. And as much as I want to believe she'll keep fighting, I also know she might not. I turn to my husband, who has loved me since we were 18, and I say words I never thought I'd say out loud. I think we need to talk about some plans I hope we never need. What if we donated her brain? He looks at me with the saddest eyes. He always says Amelia is the one who's going to beat the odds. She's such a fighter. We both want to believe we'll never need to make this decision. But we also know we're on the same page. And it brings a strange kind of peace. It doesn't come from giving up. It comes from needing her life to matter in every possible way. We hug and hold each other really tightly for a long time. Amelia survives that December, and she keeps fighting. But the line between surviving and living keeps getting thinner. And then it's gone. She dies on a cloudless day in August at Mayo Clinic after another month-long PICU stay. She's 12 years old. I hold her hand. I sing her a song. And then a sound leaves my body that I don't recognize. It's the sound of a mother losing her child. It's pure heartbreak. Amelia's donation becomes the first ever made through the family's SCN2A Foundation. Her cells are helping researchers understand SCN2A related disorders. I know it sounds clinical, but to me it's not. That brain carried every seizure, every giggle, every inch of who she is. And now, it's still here. Still teaching. Still giving. still fighting.
That was Angie, and wow, what a powerful story. Even though it didn't have the happy ending that we all would have wanted for Angie and her family, I think it's so beautiful that her daughter is still having an impact and making a difference for those with SCN2A disorders. To learn more about Angie or family's SCN2A Foundation, visit our website, storyclatter.org. If you want more Story Collider content, check out our website or follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. If you want to come to one of our shows, start your own Story Collider show in your community, or even learn how to tell your own science story, you can learn all about that on our website too. And if you enjoyed this podcast, the best way to support us is simple. Tell a friend. Share an episode, introduce someone to Story Collider, and help bring more people into the world of science storytelling. This podcast is produced by me, Misha Gajewski, along with Jen Chen, Nikisha Roberts-Washington, and Aaron Barker. The stories featured in today's episode were produced by Kayla Glynn and me, Misha Gajewski. Special thanks goes out to the Story Collider's board and team. Also, a big thank you to the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative Rare as One project for sponsoring today's episode. If you'd like to hear more rare disease stories, head to our website and check out our playlist or the other episodes we've done with CZI. Our theme music is by Ghost, and next week I'll be back with 2 very anti-Valentine's Day stories. They're awesome. Until next time, thanks so much for listening. The holiday season is almost here, and if you're anything like me, you could use a few hacks to make life easier and tastier. That's why you should check out All the Hacks. Hosted by Chris Hutchins, this podcast is all about clever ways to upgrade your life, money, travel, and routines without overspending. Chris dives into the strategies that let you live smarter, travel further, and yes, even cook better. For the foodie in all of us, you've got to check out the episode with Momofuku chef David Chang. I loved it. He shares tips on creating amazing meals without the stress and throws in some unexpected hacks from his world of restaurants and food innovation. Apparently, I've been underutilizing my microwave. And the best part, each episode is packed with practical advice you can try immediately, whether it's streamlining your holiday shopping, planning a more memorable trip, or just squeezing a little more joy out of your day. Search for All the Hacks. That's All the Hacks in your podcast app. Hit follow and start upgrading your life today.